My cheating wife thought her affair partner would replace me until he dumped her and refused to take on her or the kids. Now she's crawling back, begging me to fix her mess like always. This time, I just watched her fall apart. Hello, Reddit I Plus here. I'm 52 years old, and for most of my adult life, I thought I had built something unshakable. My wife, Linda, is 49. We were together for nearly a quarter of a century, 24 years of shared birthdays, family vacations, raising kids, and surviving all the storms life threw at us. We had 3 children: Sophie, our oldest at 23, Ryan, who's 20 and away at college, and Maya, our youngest, 18, who just graduated high school. On the outside, people envied our family. They'd call us solid, the kind of couple others measured themselves against. I worked hard as an engineer, and Linda had been working as a project manager in a local firm. We built a nice home, sent our kids to good schools, and made sure they always felt loved. I believed, wholeheartedly, that Linda and I were partners for life. But 2 weeks ago, my world cracked open. Linda sat me down at the dining room table one quiet Sunday afternoon. Sophie had moved out months ago to start her career. Ryan was still at his university dorm. Maya had gone to her best friend's place for the weekend, so it was just the 2 of us in the house. I thought maybe she wanted to talk about our upcoming anniversary or a new family trip. Instead, she dropped a bomb that shattered me into pieces. She told me, calmly, almost rehearsed, that for the past 2 years, she'd been having an affair with a coworker named Tyler. He was 29, barely older than our oldest daughter. At first, I didn't even understand what she was saying. I remember blinking at her, waiting for her to laugh, to tell me it was some cruel joke, but she didn't laugh. She stared at me with eyes that were strangely cold, as if she'd detached herself from the pain she knew she was causing. She said she was finally ready to move forward with him. She told me that since our youngest was basically grown, she felt the timing was perfect to start fresh, with someone who made her feel alive again. That was her phrase. Alive again. I broke. I sobbed like a child at that table. I begged her not to leave me. 24 years together. Gone. Just like that? I pleaded with her to reconsider, to remember the life we'd built, the sacrifices, the memories. And do you know what she did? She patted my arm. Like I was a lost puppy, like she was comforting me for being too weak to accept reality. It'll get better, Ben, she whispered. You'll find someone who can make you happy again. Not we'll work through this. Not I made a mistake. Just, you'll move on. Somewhere inside me, something snapped. I stood up, wiped my face, and told her to leave. She looked startled, maybe because 30 minutes earlier I had been on my knees begging. But I meant it. I told her I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. She already had a duffel bag packed. That detail hit me like another knife. She'd planned this. She knew. She hugged me awkwardly on her way out, but I just stood frozen. Then she was gone. That night, I cried harder than I ever had in my life. I was hollow, broken, and when Maya came home the next day, she noticed right away. She pressed me for answers until I told her. My voice cracked the whole way through, and I could see the light in her eyes dim as the truth landed. She called Sophie and Ryan immediately, and she also called my younger brother, David. He's 46, unmarried, and one of the most dependable men I know. By evening, he was at my door with an overnight bag. He didn't ask questions. He just hugged me, clapped me on the back, and told me he wasn't leaving until I could stand on my own feet again. For the next week, my kids and David became my lifeline. Sophie drove down from the city, Ryan came home from school, and together we formed a little fortress of grief and comfort. I tried to hold it together for them, but inside I was unraveling. Then, one night, Linda called. I hadn't heard from her since she walked out. Seeing her name flash on my phone made my stomach twist. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was broken. She was sobbing, words tripping over each other. At first, she asked about the kids, whether they hated her, whether they'd ever forgive her. I gave her short, clipped answers. Then she admitted the truth. Tyler, the man she blew up our marriage for, had refused her. When she showed up at his place with her bags, expecting to move in, he laughed. He told her he wasn't ready for a serious relationship. He wanted to enjoy his 20s, live freely, and eventually settle down with someone younger who could give him children. Linda, he told her, you're beautiful, but you're nearly 50. I don't want stepkids, and I don't want to be tied down. He tossed her aside like trash. For the past week, she'd been living in a hotel. Our kids blocked her number. Her family was furious with her. She was alone, abandoned, realizing too late what she'd thrown away. Ben, she cried into the phone, I made a mistake. Please, just let me come home. Please. We can fix this. I don't have anyone else. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel pity. I felt anger. Pure, cleansing anger. I told her no. I told her she didn't give me a second chance when she spent 2 years betraying me behind my back. I told her she deserved every ounce of pain she was feeling. And then I hung up. For 24 years, I was the one fixing things. Every argument, every cold silence, every mistake, I was the one who apologized, who reached out, who held our marriage together with bloody hands and raw effort. She never once chased me. And now, when she finally needed me, I realized I was free. I turned my phone off that night, slept soundly for the first time in weeks, and woke up with something I hadn't felt in years. Clarity. Linda's gone, and she's not coming back. Not into my life, not into my home, not into my heart. And for once, that's exactly how I want it. The morning after Linda's late-night phone call, I half expected her to show up at the door. She didn't. But by afternoon, she started sending me messages. At first, they were short and desperate. Ben, I love you. Please answer me. I need to come home. I'm lost without you. We can start over. I'll do anything. I ignored them. My brother David saw my phone buzzing non-stop and raised an eyebrow. She's already fishing to get back in, huh? I nodded. She thinks I'll fold. Like I always did. David leaned forward. Don't. Not this time. She's not sorry she cheated, Ben. She's sorry her little fantasy collapsed. That's not love. That's survival instinct. He was right. And I knew it. But part of me still ached. Because 24 years isn't something you just shake off. By day 3, her tone changed. The desperation turned into anger. How could you be so cold to me after everything we've been through? Don't you care about our family? About our kids? You're really going to let me suffer like this? After all I sacrificed for you? That last line made me laugh bitterly. She sacrificed for me? She had an affair for 2 years while I was working overtime to pay for Ryan's tuition and Maya's braces. She sacrificed nothing. She indulged herself while I carried our life. I didn't respond. The following weekend, Sophie, Ryan, and Maya were all home. We were eating dinner together when my phone rang. It was Linda. Before I could silence it, Maya said coldly, "Don't answer. She doesn't deserve to interrupt our meal." Sophie nodded. "She's dead to me. If you answer, you're letting her back in, Dad." And Ryan, who's usually quiet and reserved, looked me in the eye and said, "Don't let her manipulate you, please." The call went to voicemail. Moments later, a notification popped up. She'd left a message. Against my better judgment, I listened later that night, alone. Her voice was pitiful, full of fake tears. "Ben, I know I hurt you, but I didn't just hurt you. I hurt myself too. Don't let the kids hate me. Please, you have to help me fix this. They're not answering me. And you know they'll listen if you tell them to. Don't take their mother away from them." She was trying to flip the script, to make me feel guilty for the kids cutting her off, as if I had any control over that. The next morning, Maya found me sitting in the kitchen with the voicemail still replaying on speaker. She grabbed my phone, stopped it, and said firmly, "Don't you dare feel sorry for her. She abandoned us, Dad. Don't you forget that." It was strange. My daughter was now the one protecting me. When guilt didn't work, Linda tried another tactic. She called David. Yes, my brother, David told me afterward, shaking his head in disbelief. "She called me crying, asking if I could talk some sense into you. Said you're too emotional to think straight, and you'll regret divorcing her once you calm down. She even hinted that she's worried about her financial future." I blinked. "Her financial future?" David gave me a pointed look. Translation: she's realizing Tyler isn't paying her bills and she doesn't want to downgrade her lifestyle. It was exactly that. She'd spent 2 decades benefiting from the life we built together. Now that she was alone, reality was sinking in. Hotel bills, groceries, gas, rent, all without my paycheck. Sure enough, 2 days later, I got a text from her. "Ben, think about what this divorce will do to both of us financially. Is it worth throwing everything away over one mistake? We can rebuild. Don't do this to our family." One mistake? 2 years of lies and deceit isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Repeated choices. I typed back one sentence. "I'd rather live broke and honest than wealthy and betrayed." Then I blocked her number. You'd think she'd get the message. But Linda has always been stubborn. When I blocked her number, she started showing up in person. The first time was outside Ryan's college. She waited by the parking lot, knowing he'd be heading to his car after class. He told me later she ran up to him crying, trying to hug him, begging him to talk to her. Ryan shoved her off and told her flat out, "You're not my mother anymore." Then he got in his car and drove off while she screamed his name. Another time, she came to Maya's school right before dismissal. Standing by the gates like a ghost, Maya ignored her, walking straight past while her friends whispered. That night Maya cried, not because she missed her mom, but because she felt humiliated. And finally, Linda tried the ultimate stunt, showing up at my job. I was in the middle of a meeting when the receptionist called up saying, Ben, there's a woman here who says she's your wife and it's an emergency. I went down, furious, only to find Linda standing there with red-rimmed eyes, clutching a stack of papers. I've started therapy, she said quickly, shoving the papers at me. See? Proof. I'm getting help. We can fix this if you just let me come home. Please, Ben, you don't understand. Tyler tricked me. He said he loved me. I thought. I cut her off. Stop. I lowered my voice, aware of coworkers staring. You weren't tricked. You lied, you cheated, you destroyed this marriage. Don't you dare stand here and put this on anyone else but yourself. Her face crumpled. So that's it? You're really going to throw me away after all these years? And I said the words I should have said a long time ago. No, Linda, you threw me away. 2 years ago. I'm just finally catching up. Then I walked out and told security not to let her in again. The manipulations kept coming. Emails, letters, even trying to reach me through distant relatives. Each one more desperate, more frantic, but the more she tried, the clearer it became. She didn't want me. She wanted the comfort, the security, the safety net I had always been. The kids refused to speak to her. David kept watchful in case she tried something extreme. And I finally felt peace settling in. For once, I wasn't the one fixing things. I was letting them stay broken because they needed to. Linda can cry, beg, and manipulate all she wants. But the truth is simple. The woman I married is gone. And the man I've become refuses to be her safety net anymore. The divorce papers are signed. And for the first time in decades, I feel free. After Linda realized she couldn't get through to me or the kids directly, she switched tactics again. This time she launched what I call her sympathy tour. She started reaching out to old family friends, neighbors, even people from our church we hadn't attended regularly in years. She painted herself as a confused wife who made one bad decision but still loved her husband deeply. I know this because people started calling me. First it was Mark, an old friend from college. He said, "Hey Ben, I ran into Linda. She told me she messed up, but she says you're being unforgiving. Man, after 24 years, are you sure you don't want to at least try counseling?" I laughed bitterly. Counseling? Mark, she cheated for 2 years. Not 2 nights, 2 years. Tell me, if your wife did that, would you sit in counseling holding her hand? Silence. Then Mark muttered, "Guess she left that part out." Next it was an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Jensen. Sweet woman, but easily swayed. She knocked on my door one evening holding a casserole. "Ben, dear, I saw Linda the other day. She was crying, said you won't even speak to her. Maybe you two just need to sit down and talk." I thanked her for the casserole, then calmly told her everything. By the time I finished, Mrs. Jensen's eyes were wide. Oh my, that woman should be ashamed of herself. She marched home, muttering under her breath. Every time Linda tried to spin the story, I countered with the truth. Slowly, her sympathy tour collapsed. Friends stopped answering her calls. Neighbors began avoiding her. Even her own parents, who once adored her, called me privately to apologize for her behavior. When manipulation and sympathy failed, Linda turned back to the one thing she thought would scare me: money. My lawyer called one afternoon and said, "She's threatening to contest the divorce aggressively. She wants spousal support, part of your pension, and she's claiming she contributed equally to the household finances." I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Contributed equally? I paid 80% of everything while she worked part-time and used her extra money for shopping sprees and girls' trips. Tell me, can a court see through that? The lawyer assured me we had records, bank statements, tax returns, proof of my overtime shifts. Linda could try, but her demands were smoke and mirrors. When she realized she wouldn't bleed me dry financially, she tried one last pitiful tactic. She wrote me a long, handwritten letter, pages and pages of dramatics. She begged me to think of the love we once had, swore she was blinded by Tyler's attention, promised she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me. At the end, she added, "Ben, please don't do this. If you go through with the divorce, I'll have nothing left. I can't survive without you." I stared at that letter for a long time, and then I burned it in the fireplace. By now, months had passed. The kids had adjusted, painfully but steadily. Maya started therapy and told me she was slowly learning to stop blaming herself. Ryan threw himself into his studies and basketball team, and Sophie, bless her heart, came home often to check on me. As for me, I started doing something I hadn't done in years: living for myself. David dragged me to the gym twice a week. I picked up fishing again on weekends. I started cooking meals with Maya instead of just ordering takeout. Little by little, I remembered who I was before 24 years of carrying Linda's weight on my back. I wasn't healed yet, but I was breathing again. And that's when I realized Linda's manipulations weren't my problem anymore. They were her cage. Every desperate attempt only chained her tighter to her mistakes. Meanwhile, I was walking free. Just when I thought she'd finally given up, Linda tried one last grand gesture. She showed up at Sophie's apartment uninvited. Sophie called me afterward, voice shaking with anger. She was standing outside my building, Dad. Said she wanted me to mediate between you two. She actually cried and told me to remind you of the good times. I told her I remembered the good times, but I also remembered the nights you worked overtime while she was sneaking around with Tyler. Then I told her to leave before I called the cops. That was the end. After Sophie's rejection, Linda went silent. No more calls, no more letters, no more stunts. Word eventually reached me, through mutual acquaintances, that she'd moved into a small rental across town. Alone, her so-called friends had abandoned her. Her relationship with the kids was dead, and Tyler, he'd long since blocked her too. The day my divorce was finalized, David took me out for steak and whiskey. He raised his glass and said, "To freedom, brother. You didn't just survive her betrayal. You crushed her attempts to own you afterward. She lost everything because of her choices. You lost nothing worth keeping." And he was right. I lost a wife who wasn't loyal, but I kept my children, my dignity, my future. Linda, she's left with nothing but regret, and I've never felt lighter.